Hey, what's going on? My name's Hippie. Today we are doing something completely different.
Today and not tomorrow, there's no time to borrow.
So this is very unusual for me to sit down and have a video that I want to talk about, but here we are. I've been feeling super nostalgic lately, and I keep thinking back to when I was about 15, maybe a little bit younger. Definitely a little bit younger as well, but we'll say 15 for all intents and purposes. I used to do a lot of urban exploring with my friends. This was before any of us really had anything to do with the internet. Like, it was something we did in passing, like maybe once every few months. It was like, oh, let's see what's going on, but it wasn't really a staple in our universe quite yet. The internet just was not that big of a thing that we were all like, yeah, let's go to the internet. There was stuff on the internet, usually it was like games or really niche websites, but we weren't on the internet yet, and we did not have like video cameras that were portable. Sure, they had portable video cameras. This is like 2003, 2004. Sure, they had portable video cameras, but they were way too expensive, way out of our price range. We were some young kids, our parents did not have money, and there was no way that we would have been able to document this. So I have all these memories that I've never been able to document, never been able to really talk about too much, and I have written down and then found pictures of all the places that we used to explore when I was younger. We have in the place that I grew up in, I don't live there anymore, but there is a very, like, a big industrial area that had a lot of buildings that were industrial in nature. They were on the river, and there was a lot of ports and just a lot of things going in and out, a lot of people, a lot of traffic, and the area was just very industrial, and a lot of those old buildings became abandoned, and they were just sitting around falling apart. We should not have been in there. Disclaimer, urban exploring is dangerous. You can become unalived in situations where you were exploring old abandoned buildings, okay? First and foremost, be very careful, and actually I don't even recommend you do it, okay? Okay. So, now that that's out of the way, there was a few places that we went to that were very dangerous, and then there were some places that we went to that weren't as dangerous. So I'm going to pull up some pictures. I have taken screenshots of these pictures, and I will be explaining to you the significance of these places, but we're going to look at the scenery of some of the old abandoned places where I grew up, and some of the places that we would explore dangerously, but we would explore them, and it was pretty fun. But thank the Lord that we did not become unalived, because that was a possibility, and I am thankful and grateful that did not happen. So we're gonna start with a fishing spot that my dad would take us to, and it was the old sunken barges. That's what we called it. There was two sunken barges on the Mississippi River, way down the Bayou Road, way down Highway 23, way down there, not way down there, but way down there, there was these barges. So we have a few pictures for the sunken barges, as we called them. They were right off of the banks of the Mississippi River, downstream from the New Orleans area, and my dad would take us there, and you would be able to kind of like cast your line out further than if you were just on the riverbanks, because you were able to climb up on these barges and you were able to walk around the top of them. But let's go ahead and look at this picture. So there is two So they have these two barges, and you had to walk through a little trail to get there. And you were able to walk up on top of these barges. Now they are very much submerged underwater, and they are very much so broken up, and it is not what it looked like 20 years ago. But this was one of the first things that I ever explored that was considered abandoned. So it is worth noting that this large cluster of barges that you see were not in front of these two little barges on the banks. It was just these two abandoned barges in open river back in the day. So the next thing we're going to talk about was kind of like an abandoned community, and this entire community was abandoned after Katrina, and it's another fishing story. So we went even further than where we just were, where the sunken barges were. We go even further down, and then you get past the Myrtle Grove area, and right past there used to be a small schoolhouse, a canal, another canal, and there was houses on this canal, and it was a thriving community at one point in time. The hurricane in 2005 wiped this community completely out, and we used to go fishing back there before and after the hurricane. But after the hurricane, it was completely like demolished. Everything was just wrecked from the hurricane. I was not able to find the exact picture or like location for some reason, but I found something very, very, very similar. So you see right here, it has a canal, it meets up with another canal, and there is some little houses, little buildings all around. We used to go fishing down in the area, and it looked very similar to what is on the screen now. You see where it says Grand Bayou Village. This is, again, not the exact location, I don't think, at least. If they have built up since then sure, maybe. But where the Grand Bayou Village sign or little place marker is, just imagine a small building right there, about the same size of that, but it was a schoolhouse. And then we would walk down past the schoolhouse. We used to park by the schoolhouse, and we would walk down kind of like to where that peninsula is. We would walk down there and we would go fishing, and you were able to see the houses across the bayou, and you were able to see plenty of houses all around on the opposite side of the bayou. At that time, I don't remember any being on the same side that we were on. So that's why I think this may not be the exact same place, but it's very similar, and this is very much so how the landscape is for that place as well. So if you can just imagine going fishing here and seeing all the buildings that are right here completely demolished because of Hurricane Katrina, that's what it used to look like in a certain area that I used to go fishing in. This, again, may not be that place, but it looks very, very, very similar. So another place that we would go pretty often would be like old Mardi Gras floats that they were getting ready for the next Mardi Gras season. And a lot of times when they would be getting them prepped, they would have them, like they would store them in warehouses that were like covered and free from being exposed to the elements outside. But when it was time to pull them out and fix them up for the next season, a lot of times they would park them in fields. So if you don't know what a Mardi Gras float looks like, I am showing you a few of them. So just imagine lots of these floats all parked neatly in a field, all of them almost like it's a parking lot, like it's a Walmart parking lot. They're just all neatly parked in a field. Late at night, they would be unsupervised, and we would go onto the Mardi Gras floats and just go running around, and it was probably illegal. I don't know. It was like 20 years ago. I'm not sure right now. Okay, I don't know. But we didn't mess anything up intentionally. I'm sure maybe we probably could have done some damage, but we didn't intentionally do damage. Like, we didn't go there to wreck things. We were not there because we wanted to make things a mess. We were just like bored teenagers who were going outside at night to have fun. And we did just that. That reminds me, we used to do this thing called gnoming too. If you know, you know. We're not gonna talk about it here. Okay, so another place that we used to go to that was like an abandoned place was a dock, a wharf, if you will. And it was on the Mississippi River. And I'm going to show you a few pictures of it that I was able to find. It was a dock. There was a little train station or railway that would go to the front of the dock, and there was an area between the railway and the levee, and there was some water. It was literally the river, but it was it wasn't subjected to all the currents because of the little railway. Well, we climbed to the top part of that wharf, not the roof, but like, you know, where the deck was. And then we jumped into the river. So let me show you some pictures. Anyways, you see there is to the right of the screen a railway, and it goes down the way. You see it going up, and then there is a little building over there, and that building is the building that we climbed on top of. So the next picture I have right here is a picture of that wharf, and if you look kind of to the center of the screen, it's a pink building. It looks like a blue deck right there. That is where we were, and the railway is those pilings and what looks like a deck or something that goes all the way from the front to the levee. Well, we jumped in that little area. We jumped from that deck to the water. It was me and one of my friends, and we had some other people there, but me and her jumped together. We probably shouldn't have. I blacked out on my way down, and I don't remember anything until I was underwater with my hand in mud, or it was clay, like river clay. It was gross, but you know what's even worse? We could have been seriously hurt, and we could have been mangled up. You have no idea all the junk that they have on the banks of rivers. Any river, it doesn't matter what river you're at, in the States at least, like any river, there's probably going to be a lot of junk under the water that you don't quite know about. So there wasn't a beach, but that little tan color, that is a beach, which only happens during like the September and October, like the late months of the year, and that is because the river goes down significantly from where it was in the earlier points of the year. In like March and May, the river is very high, so I'm guessing we probably jumped somewhere between May and August, something like that. So, but if we would have jumped at this point in time, we would have been jumping on to the sand. So what we're going to talk about next is probably the second place I've ever like explored that was abandoned, and it was the old dentist office. So here is the picture. People were using it. By this time, let's see, it was taken in 2007. By this time, I don't know how long the dentist office had been closed, but I know for a fact it was closed for at least 5 years. At least. Probably longer. I would assume much longer than that from all the stuff we found inside there, but like 5 years prior to this picture was when I had explored it with one of my friends, a few of my friends. Look, I knew people that got on top of this roof. Oh, rest in peace, Wanky. Oh, so I have some friends that were skateboarders and they used to get on top of that roof. The next thing we're going to talk about is where I went on top of the roof, and that is the old, here it is, Belle Promenade Mall, specifically the JCPenney wing, because that was like the last piece of the building that was standing. So here we have the last piece. It has like all the new streets that weren't there at the time, which some of these they've just basically, I guess, they marked the parking lot. Okay, I see what it is. So this isn't like this now. But this building right there was originally part of this grand mall. It was a beautiful mall. It was so much fun. But it was the JCPenney ward right there. It was the last piece standing. And we went on top of the roof there and had a picnic. That was pretty fun. And also there was cops. I guess somebody probably called the cops on us. And while we were up on the roof of this building, which I want to talk a lot more about this building, but when we were up on the roof of this building, there was cops down there. So we ended up having to stay a lot longer than we anticipated because we couldn't go down. We would have been caught. But we did have a picnic up there. It was really scary, kind of climbing to the top, because you had to climb up this shaft. It wasn't a shaft, actually. It was just a ladder. There wasn't any... It was just a ladder. There wasn't... If you were to have fallen back, nothing would have stopped you. So a shaft, I would think, it's either caged or boxed in or something. There was no safety precautions, and we had to climb up. Anyways, we climbed up this really spooky ladder. There was no electricity. There was no windows. It was dark. I don't even remember. I'm sure we had flashlights. Like, we wouldn't have gone in there without flashlights. And there was people that used to kind of sleep there. But we used to go into this building. There was this one room. Oh, I can smell it still. It was filled with mattresses, like old mattresses. It was like the old loading dock, and it was filled with mattresses. And it smelled like a dead body. Okay, I've never smelled a dead body, but it smelled like what I would imagine a dead body to smell like, and it was the worst, most putrid stench. It's burning my nostril hairs just thinking about it. It was absolutely awful. So here's another picture of the last piece when it was standing. Here is a picture from 2007, one side, which I think if you were all the way on that left side right there, I think that was where like the door was, where you seen all those mattresses. So that is where they used to have like they had these beautiful skylights in this mall. They were beautiful, and it was kind of like in the middle, and each little extension and wing and everything, they all had these skylights, and this was the side that the skylight was on. This was the indoor entrance. So I guess the main entrance, you have your exterior entrances. This was the entrance that was this was the anchor entrance, I guess. You can see where it had previously been enclosed, so the top part is a different color along with the sides, and then the part that is at the bottom is a different color because that was the interior part of the mall at one point in time. So there's a few more things that we did in this old abandoned mall other than climbing to the roof and having a picnic up there. So we spent a lot of time at that mall, a lot of time. It was very close to an old friend's house, and we would go just explore this mall like it was our backyard. So we would go into this mall that was falling apart, And I want to say we spent more time on the second floor and the roof than the bottom floor, which I think this mall was born. I was about to say born. I think this mall was built in like the late 70s, early 80s. And this was like the early 2000s. So, and it had been abandoned since I think like 1998 or something like that. Well, that's not that many years. So, I mean, sure, it's probably, we don't know. This building had been abandoned for quite some time, and it was wrecked on the inside. So they had the old escalators. I don't remember climbing up the old escalators. I don't remember why. But around the escalators in the JCPenney wing, there was mirrors. There was mirrors up there, and one of them almost fell on us. One of them almost fell down on top of us. And I don't think we were doing anything that would have caused it to fall down on top of us, except for maybe just being in the building and the vibrations from us walking. Like, that could have played a part in it. But I feel like, if I remember correctly, and if I'm not exaggerating too much, we moved right in the nick of time. We got out of the way right before it fell. If we wouldn't have moved, it would have fallen on top of us. Maybe that's why we didn't do so much time on the downstairs area, because there was those mirrors that almost fell on us. But then we would go to, like, the way I'm looking at it right now, we came from the main entrance, the anchor entrance, I'm calling it, like the entrance that was inside, the entrance that was like enclosed indoors. That entrance, we would go inside of there because there was like a little hole in the fence that was blocking the door. I'm pretty sure the statute of limitations has definitely gone away for this. But I was a minor at the time also. I was a dumb minor, okay? So, like, give me a little grace, please. The Lord has. You can too. Okay. So we would go in through that part, but then I think they closed that up, like they understood that we were getting in from somewhere, and it wasn't just us. We weren't the only people getting in. And then we had to get in, after they closed that up again, we had to start getting in through like a door that didn't have like a lock or anything on it. That was spooky, because when you had to go in that way, it was kind of like a maze. It was like the back rooms. You had to go through some of those rooms to get to the main area to find the other flight of stairs that would bring you up. Oh man, it was so confusing. But we would spend a lot of time on the second floor, and towards the I guess it was the main out entrance. It was facing the main road, the main thoroughway. It was facing there. It used to have windows, and it was just, all the windows were gone. And like you can see down, and if you would have fallen down, you likely would have not seen the light of day again. So again, it was so dangerous what we were doing. They should have torn these buildings down way sooner, okay? I mean, how do you expect naughty teenagers to not want to go explore abandoned buildings? So yeah, we totally had a rooftop picnic though. There was a safe that we were convinced we'd be able to blow open with Play-Doh, or I don't know, some of them that we were with were convinced that they can blow the safe open with Play-Doh. I've never looked that up. That sounds ridiculous though. But there was like a safe, and it really was dark in a lot of the areas, and it was like the back rooms, only pitch black. It was dark as night when the new moon is in the sky. Okay? It's like dark. It was dark back there. We were bold and brave too, though. When you're a kid, and yes, I'm saying when I was a teenager, I was a kid because I was, but when you're a kid, you really think you are invincible. You think nothing can hurt you. That could not be farthest away from the truth. Okay, so we have two more things on this list. The next thing was just a warehouse that used to be by this towing company, not affiliated. They were not on the same lot, but there was like a towing company with all kinds of cars that they towed, and it was on this lot. Maybe it was an impound. Maybe it was an impound. I have no idea. It was just like a lot of cars there, and if you walked past that, there was this monstrosity. This was a very old warehouse. On the inside, there was like just two separate parts. There was like one wall. You see how there's this big square and then a small rectangle. Well, there was a wall that was like in between there. It separated those two box shapes from each other, but there was a doorway that of course brought them together. But other than that, this was just a big huge space on the inside, and it was kind of spooky in there, I'm not gonna lie. That was just like one of the places that for some reason gave me the creeps. Ugh, I don't know what it was. And the last place that I am talking about on this list is an old lumber warehouse. It was also very close to the wharf that I jumped off of with a friend. I'll show you the proximity they are to each other in just a moment. But this was an old lumber building that was very close to that wharf, and they likely transported things out of that wharf. Okay, so I think the wharf is still in use. I wouldn't see why it's not, the dock or whatever you want to call it. But this was like an old lumber building, and we used to go inside of there. That place was kind of spooky too. But again, it was just like a big old building, and it was not safe. I know somebody that, or I know somebody that knows somebody that passed away in this building. Not when it was open and running for business, but after it had been abandoned, unfortunately. So urban exploring can be very dangerous. Please, if you're doing any urban exploring, don't. Do things the safe way, okay? Maybe don't even go inside, because the building's probably going to fall on you, and you don't want that to happen, okay? I know I'm saying this in a joking manner, but seriously. Me and my friends were lucky to have not gotten severely injured or something worse when we were going and exploring these buildings that should have been barricaded, or they were way too easy to get into. That's not an excuse though. But just yeah, don't. Let's just not do that. But that's everything for this video. Thank you for reminiscing with me. It's been fun. I hope you were able to maybe think about places that you used to be able to explore, or maybe relive some of my experiences with me. Hopefully I was able to describe some of the areas well enough that you understood how it felt to be there. But yeah, that's everything for this video. Again, this is something very different than what I have been doing recently, but I do like sitting down and just kind of talking sometimes. So that's everything. Bye. See you guys later.
And I can feel the sun on my skin.